A quiet kitchen in the early morning glow. The only witness, a small green light on the wall. At 6:47, every weekday, a hand would appear, steady, deliberate, tipping a vial into the morning coffee. The amber fluid dissolved without a trace. 6 months of footage, each clip identical. 2 weeks ago, Brian Cooper collapsed in his own kitchen. His second heart attack in 8 months. Doctors called it a cardiac event, but the camera had already recorded the real cause. His daughter Pamela flew back from her business trip, praying this wouldn't be the end. No one suspected that the danger was delivered in a warm mug every single morning. But Brian himself would soon start to see a pattern, because the poison had a timestamp. And the camera never forgets. Brian came home to a stack of get well cards and a fresh pill organizer beside his recliner.
I'll make the coffee, Brian. You just sit back and let us take care of everything.
You are a saint, Tyler. I don't know how I'd manage without you here.
My son-in-law is a good man. After 2 heart attacks, I am lucky to have him.
Tyler took charge of the morning ritual. No one else touched the coffee pot or the mug.
I've got it, Pam. He likes it strong, with just a splash of cream. You go on.
He's protective. Maybe too protective. But after what I've been through, who can blame him?
The first sip was always bitter, but Brian convinced himself it was just the brand. His heart meds sat untouched. The real threat was served steaming in a ceramic cup. Brian didn't know it yet, but his morning routine had been weaponized. Weeks slid by. Brian's strength returned, but a kernel of unease rooted deeper than any stethoscope could reach.
As a chemistry teacher, I know the body isn't a slot machine. 2 big cardiac hits in 8 months. That's not random.
Here you go, Brian. Fresh and strong. Finish it while it's hot.
He never leaves until the mug is bone dry, like he's collecting a receipt.
You are a saint, Tyler. I don't know how Dad would manage without you.
Then why does my heart still flutter at 2 in the morning? And why the faint metallic aftertaste?
A retired chemistry teacher doesn't ignore recurring data.
Stop it, Brian. You are paranoid. It's the medication, or just age catching up.
But whenever he set the mug down too soon, Tyler's grin tightened like a drawn wire. The doubt sat like a splinter. Small, buried, but impossible to ignore. On a crisp Saturday, Brian's grandson Ethan arrived holding a white box with the Nest logo, grinning like he'd brought a cure for boredom.
Grandpa, this little gadget records everything. Motion, sound. It saves it to the cloud. You can go back months.
He tapped the screen, and the kitchen appeared in crisp, wide angle. The green LED blinked like a quiet pulse.
See that dot? As long as it's green, the camera's recording. Every morning, every coffee pot, everything.
So if someone did something in that kitchen, the camera would have caught it?
Yep, every second. Here, I'll leave the tablet. You can watch the live feed whenever you want.
Brian stared at the image of his own kitchen, suddenly aware that every corner had a memory. Later, alone with the tablet in his den, his old chemistry books on the shelf seemed to whisper warnings about repeat experiments.
6 months of recordings. Every morning, every time Tyler touched the coffee.
He set the tablet down without opening the timeline, but the splinter was now a blade. At 2 in the morning, sleep abandoned him. Brian reached for the tablet, like a man reaching for answers in the dark.
I've been ignoring that splinter for too long. Let's see if the camera remembers what I've been afraid to ask.
He opened the Nest app and scrolled backward through weeks of ordinary mornings. Tyler appeared like clockwork, filling the pot, stirring the cup, handing it over with a smile. Then, a clip from last Tuesday froze his thumb. The motion paused, a glint of glass catching the morning light.
What is that? That's not a spoon.
He pinched to zoom. A small glass vial, half hidden in Tyler's palm, tipped over the mug.
That color. I've seen that amber fluid before. Not on a kitchen counter. In a lab.
He stabbed the rewind again. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every single morning. Same hand, same vial, same 647 timestamp. The splinter was now a shard of glass through his chest, but knowing wasn't enough. He needed to prove it. He scrolled back to January. 23 weekdays. 23 times the vial tilted over his mug.
Every morning at 6:47, my son-in-law was trying to kill me.
The camera angle didn't lie. Tyler entered, checked the empty kitchen, and reached into his jacket. The vial emerged only when the coffee was poured, then vanished back into the lining.
I taught chemistry for 30 years. I know the color of certain poisons, and that amber liquid.
His first attack. Tuesday, 8:15 a.m. The second, Wednesday, 7:50 a.m., both within an hour of his coffee.
I nearly died twice, and I smiled at the man who handed me the mug.
The footage was irrefutable, but the poison still had no name. He needed to know what it was.
Call the police, and Tyler knows I am on to him. Confront him, and he might finish the job.
He closed the tablet. The shard was now a blade pressed against his throat, and no one else could see it. In the thin hours before dawn, Brian unlocked a dusty cabinet and pulled out his old chemistry manuals.
Amber liquid, slight viscosity, no odor. There's only one compound that fits.
He cross-referenced an old toxicology chart. The color on the camera matched a potassium channel blocker used in commercial pesticides.
I demonstrated this in class years ago. It disrupts cardiac rhythm in microdoses over weeks.
A single drop in his coffee every morning. Enough to weaken the heart, never enough to taste. His so-called heart attacks weren't attacks. They were a slow poisoning executed with a pipette and patience.
Tyler didn't just tamper with my coffee. He reversed the chemistry lab's safety rule. The dose makes the poison.
His retirement plaque from the high school hung on the wall. It seemed to mock him now.
I survived 2 cardiac events by inches. The third one would have killed me for sure.
Now he knew what. But the Y sat on his chest heavier than any toxin. The den walls seemed to inch closer. 4 corners and a secret that could flatline him before any confession.
Confront him, and he'll destroy the vial before I can blink. I need physical proof.
His reflection in the dark window stared back. A chemist, not a victim.
The Nest cam is still recording. Tomorrow at 6:47, it'll capture everything again.
Tomorrow, he wouldn't drink a drop. The mug would go straight into a sterile jar from his old lab.
I've got specimen containers in the garage. Dusty, but uncontaminated.
The house lay silent. Tyler's muffled snore from down the hall was a metronome, counting down to morning.
One wrong move, and Tyler will know. He might just speed up the dose.
He decided. Tomorrow he'd smile, accept the cup, and pour it all into evidence. The blade was still at his throat. But for the first time, his hand was on the handle. At 6:47, Tyler set the mug on the side table, his smile as routine as the poison.
Smile back. Brian, act weak. He can't see the hunter behind the prey.
There you go, Brian. Finish it while it's hot. You need the strength.
Brian lifted the mug to his lips, then lowered it with a weak cough. Tyler's eyes narrowed for a blink, then relaxed. The front door clicked shut. Brian limped to the garage and retrieved a sterile jar, his old lab hands trembling with purpose.
23 doses in this cup. The mass spectrometer will see what the cardiologist couldn't.
He copied the Nest footage onto 2 thumb drives. One for a safety deposit box, the other hidden inside a hollowed textbook. He dialed Marcus Grant, the only lawyer who'd never bill him for the first question.
Marcus, it's Brian. I need an off-the-record meeting. No names, not on this line. Tomorrow morning.
The evidence sat in a locked drawer. The blade was still at his throat, but now it could cut both ways. The next morning, Brian walked into Marcus Grant's leather and books office, carrying a locked briefcase.
He slid the tablet across the desk. Start from last Tuesday. You'll understand.
Marcus watched in silence as Tyler's hand appeared, the vial tipped, and the poison disappeared into the mug.
His face drained of color. Brian, this is a homicide attempt. We have to involve the police immediately.
Brian nodded. That's why I am here. I can't do this alone.
Marcus leaned forward. If you confront him, he'll destroy everything. Let the system handle it.
Then we go now. Before Tyler gets home and wonders where I am.
They left the office together, the briefcase clutched under Brian's arm like a lifeline. The police station rose from the street, its stone steps worn by decades of desperate footsteps. Inside, Brian would hand over the blade. But the cut to his family was only beginning. Inside the station, Detective Harris sat behind a cluttered desk, his eyes steady as granite.
Mr. Cooper, I've seen a lot, but your son-in-law, show me the footage.
Brian handed over the tablet, and the detective's face hardened as the video played.
He did this every morning? You are saying your 2 heart attacks were no accident?
Every weekday for 6 months. And I saved today's dose.
Harris sealed the sample and labeled it, the case number stamped in red ink.
We'll need a few days for the lab to confirm the toxin. In the meantime, you act normal.
I can do that. But Tyler's not stupid. If he senses anything,
We'll keep it quiet. No marked cars, no calls to the house. You are safe as long as he doesn't know.
The detective's badge glinted as he stood, but Brian felt anything but protected. The next morning, Brian accepted the coffee with a rehearsed gratitude that made his stomach churn.
he thinks the poison is still entering my veins. Just a few more days of this charade. Then it's over.
Each day, Tyler lingered until the mug tilted toward Brian's lips. Each day, Brian feigned a swallow and, minutes later, emptied the contents into the kitchen sink.
You know, Brian, you are looking better. Color's back in your cheeks. I guess my daily brew is working wonders.
No doubt about it, son. You've really found the secret recipe.
On the 5th morning, a call from Detective Harris confirmed the potassium channel blocker. An unmarked police car now trailed Tyler every mile. The evidence board filled with photos of Tyler's morning routine and lab reports confirming the poison. The timeline pointed to a methodical killer.
I taught them how to see it. Now they just need one more dose to catch him with the vial in his pocket.
Dad, you've been acting strange all week. You barely talk at dinner, and you flinch when Tyler pours the coffee.
Just lingering jitters from the hospital. The doctors warned me about anxiety. I'll be fine, I promise.
That evening, Detective Harris scrolled through financials on his cluttered desk. One line item froze his cursor.
A life insurance policy on Brian Cooper, purchased 8 months ago, for $1.8 million.
The beneficiary was Tyler Hansen. The broker had a history of pushing fraudulent policies.
He stands to gain almost $2 million if his father-in-law dies. That's our motive.
Harris called Brian into the station. The evidence board now included the policy, pinned beneath Tyler's photo.
We can arrest him for attempted murder, but we need him with the vial. Tuesday morning, at his office.
Tuesday. I'll keep drinking the fake coffee until then.
The plan was simple. Surveillance at 6:30 a.m. Intercept him before he reached his desk.
Once we have the vial, it's over. He'll be in cuffs before his first meeting.
Brian nodded, feeling the clock start ticking. 4 more days of pretending. That evening, Brian sat under the same roof as his would-be killer, a smile stitched to his face.
You know, Brian, I was just telling Pam, your heart seems to be stronger than ever. My coffee must be doing the trick.
He's fishing. He wants to see if I am still buying the act. Just breathe.
His hand trembled around the fork. He pressed his palm flat against the wood until the tremor stopped.
Best coffee I've ever had, Tyler. I am feeling like a new man, really.
You two are the dream team, Dad. We should plan a family getaway once you are fully back on your feet.
Brian smiled and agreed. Inside, he was already miles away, counting down the hours until Tuesday.
86 hours. Then this nightmare ends.
You seem a little fidgety tonight, Brian. Everything okay?
Brian met his eyes and didn't blink. The clock was ticking, and for the first time, it wasn't against him. Monday night, Brian lay awake in his den, the tablet's glow painting the walls. The Nest Cam's green dot blinked at him like a second heartbeat.
6 months of recording. 6 months of Tyler thinking he was invisible.
At 6:42, Tyler's routine didn't change. He kissed Pamela, grabbed his jacket, and backed the car out. 2 minutes later, Brian dialed Detective Harris. The phone rang once.
We're in position. He's on his way. 9 o'clock, Brian. It's almost over.
The unmarked car sat in the parking lot, its occupants watching every entrance.
In 2 hours, they'll arrest him, and I'll watch it on the news.
The clock on the wall read 7:15. Every tick dragged. In the kitchen, the Nest Cam watched the empty room. The coffee maker sat unused. No poison today. And at 8:52, the trap sprung. Tyler Hansen settled into his cubicle at 8:51, coffee growing cold on his desk, totally unaware of the team shadowing him. His door nameplate still read Tyler Hansen, senior analyst, but by noon it would be tagged as evidence. 2 suits blocked his cubicle exit. Detective Harris held up a warrant where Tyler could see the seal.
Tyler Hansen, you are under arrest for the attempted murder of Brian Cooper. Turn around.
The pat down took seconds. From his inner jacket pocket, Harris pulled the small glass vial of amber liquid. At home, Brian stared at the tablet. The clock ticking past 9. The Nest app was open to a blank live feed.
It's done. We got him, Brian. The vial was still in his pocket.
Brian nodded into the phone, then set it down. For the first time in months, his breath came without a hitch. Across town, Tyler's mugshot was taken under a white light. The booking placard read, "Attempted homicide."
He's behind bars. Now I have to tell my daughter that her husband tried to kill me.
Detective Harris arrived at the Cooper home within the hour. Pamela's smile crumpled at his expression.
Mrs. Hansen, your husband has been arrested for attempting to murder your father. We have video evidence.
Attempted? Murder? Number. Tyler would never. You have the wrong person.
Brian guided her to the couch and pressed play. The clip from last Tuesday flickered to life. She watched her husband's hand tip the vial into the coffee. Her breathing stopped.
That's poison. He's been putting poison in your coffee every single morning.
I found the footage a few weeks ago. The Nest Cam recorded 6 months of it. I had to be sure.
She collapsed against him, sobs tearing from her chest. He held her, but no embrace could undo what they now knew. Later, the police showed them the burner phone and the insurance policy. $1.8 million. Tyler's motive laid bare.
I married a man who wanted to kill my father for money.
Within hours, the arrest hit local news. The police evidence board leaked a photo of Tyler beside a vial and a $1.8 million policy. A neighbor and former colleague shook his head outside Brian's house. He was always so helpful, like a second son. Brian stood on his front porch, a statement in hand. If not for the Nest Cam, I'd be dead now. It recorded every dose. He pointed up at the small green light by the door. That little dot saved my life. In an interrogation room, Tyler sat stone-faced, arms crossed. "I want a lawyer," was all he said. The prosecution saw no need for a confession. The timeline, the footage, the chemical analysis, it all interlocked. Detective Harris closed the file. "We have enough for attempted murder, fraud, and a dozen other charges." Tyler's mugshot made the front page. The headline read, "Son-in-law's morning poison routine." For Brian, the relief was laced with exhaustion. He had stopped a killer, but at the cost of his daughter's marriage.
The Nest Cam gave me justice, but it couldn't give me back the son-in-law I thought I had.
3 days later, Pamela pulled into the driveway with 2 suitcases and a face that had stopped crying and started fighting.
You are home. That's all that matters now.
She walked straight to the kitchen, unplugged the coffee maker, and dropped it into the trash.
No more coffee. We drink tea now.
That evening, they shared a dinner of cold sandwiches and hot tea, their words as sparse as their appetite.
I keep thinking, I kissed him goodbye that morning, while he had poison in his pocket.
You loved him. That's not a sin. His choices are his own.
The Nest cam still blinked its quiet green light, now a silent guardian over a different kind of morning ritual.
I never thought a security camera would teach me more about my own home than 30 years under this roof.
The road ahead was long, but for the first time in months the house held no poison, only the quiet sound of tea steeping and mending. Months later, Brian knelt in his garden, the sun warm on his back. A mug of chamomile tea rested beside him.
I used to think my heart was my weakest organ. Turns out it was my strongest.
Pamela worked from a desk by the window, glancing out every few minutes to check on him.
The coffee maker is long gone. Tyler's ghost fades a little more each day.
He was stronger now, the color back in his cheeks, the tremor gone from his hands. One evening, as the sun dipped low, he walked inside and paused beneath the blinking green light.
Thank you.
The camera had no ears to hear him, but the kitchen seemed to hold the gratitude like a warm breath.
A little device my grandson set up saved my life, and it gave me back my daughter.
The green light blinked, as steady as a heartbeat, and Brian turned toward the kettle. The sun set over Brian's living room, casting long shadows across the floor. A framed photo of him and Pamela stood on the mantel. In the kitchen, the Nest cam blinked its steady green, a quiet guardian over the empty counter.
I never imagined a security camera would be the thing that gave me back my life, but here I am.
Pamela worked from the next room, her voice occasionally drifting in. The house felt less like a crime scene and more like a home. The coffee maker was gone. In its place, a simple kettle and a box of herbal tea. Brian glanced up at the small camera once more, then turned his attention to the sunset. He would never drink coffee again, not a drop, not ever. The green light continued to blink, a tiny sentinel in the darkening kitchen. True life story, no more poison. Just the quiet hum of a house learning to heal. That was the story of Brian Cooper, a retired chemistry teacher who turned a tiny security camera into his greatest ally. If this true story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps more people discover these real-life accounts. Share your thoughts in the comments. Has technology ever revealed a truth you never expected? We bring you a new true story every week, drawn from the raw and unexpected corners of everyday life. Thank you for staying until the end. Your support keeps these stories alive. Brian never drinks coffee again, but every morning, he still glances at that green light and gives a small nod. The Nest cam didn't just record a crime. It witnessed a family's survival and a daughter's return. If you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. And as always, remember, truth is often stranger than fiction. True life story.